Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Lamar, and if you're new here, this is just the place I like to come and review books that I have recently read. And I just don't really have a full specification on what kind of books I read, just more so what aligns with my interest or where my intuition leads, I guess, as of recent. So today I have another book that I just recently finished not too long ago, and I have been really getting into different children's YA type of books, but this one I guess leans more on the childlike fiction side, though it is pretty lengthy. And without further ado, as you could probably already tell by the title, this book is none other than Willa of the Wood. So, yes, this book is by Robert Beatty. I'm not sure how to say his name, but I'm going to give you guys a little synopsis, and then we'll get into my review of the book. Move without a sound, steal without a trace. Willa, a young night spirit of the Great Smoky Mountains, is her clan's best thief. She creeps into the homes of the day folk under the cover of darkness and takes what they don't miss or won't miss. It's dangerous work. The day folk kill whatever they do not understand. But Willa will do anything to win the approval of the Padawan, the charismatic leader of the Feyran people. When Willa's curiosity leaves her hurt and stranded in the day world, she calls upon an ancient, unbreakable bond to escape. Only then does she discover the truth. Not all day folk are the same, and the magical foundations that have guarded the Feyran for eons are under attack. As forces of unfathomable destruction encroach on her home, Willa must decide who she truly is. To save the Dayfolk family that has become her own and lift the curse that has robbed her people of their truth, Willa will meet deadly force with trusted alliance, violence with shelter, and an ever-changing world with a steady heartbeat of courage. So that was a cute little synopsis. This book, I liked it, but however, I feel as though there were things that I didn't necessarily resonate with or fully align with in terms of, some of the depictions and understandings of how the dynamic was between the Feyran people. So I'm assuming that's like the Fey, if you guys know about fairies and forest spirits or nature spirits, like the elementals. Willow is of that kind of realm, and she grew up hearing different stories about the different humans and the different types of humans, I guess there are, because there's in this book there's a difference between the Cherokee people and the homesteader people, which I'm assuming are settlers, and then the newcomers, which I'm assuming are capitalists, which, because the newcomers in this book they describe as like the people who are in charge of, I guess, doing the logging, and there's different construction that's attempting to be taking place on the land that is shared amongst the forest dwelling creatures and the humans that live on their land. In this book, I feel like it was like corny at the end. Like, I know it was a children's book and I think that was cute, but honestly, like, I feel like, for one, the Padawan kind of antagonist character, if you will, archetype, he was kind of like very greed hungry and trying to adapt to the human ways of colonialism and capitalism, in terms of he at some point in the book he was like collecting, you know, human artifacts and sending the youngest of their clan to steal from humans because they say they don't need them anyways. They already have more than enough abundance of material stuff and things that they have. Though this never really fully aligned with what Willa, you know, believed, and teachings of her grandmother, because her grandmother was one of the last of her clan to be speaking of the old language, the old Feyran language, and teaching of the old ways of when prior to when the Padawan was in power. But you know, the Padawan character in this book, the author chose to describe him as like a god or like a deity, and I had like an issue with that conceptualization because on top of other issues, but for that specifically, I feel like if we're trying to decolonize, you know, our perspective and our understanding, our relationship with words, our relationship with the natural world, part of that decolonization is, you know, kind of questioning what's beyond the word of like what you perceive as powerful, to just kind of surmise it to a god. Like a lot of the pantheism that kind of erupted in perspectives and insight of inquiry and theology, you know, research and stuff. It actually, if you do more in-depth research, a lot of things are just boiled down to monotheism, but multifaceted monotheism, if that makes sense. Like there's multiple faces of the divine, but there's still the one true creator and the creative force behind it all. And I feel like I can understand from a lens of like trying to put the Padawan character antagonist as, you know, like a villain and greed hungry and thing like that, but like I don't think it's fully encapsulating of the power dynamic in an authentic, I should say, way. And I think that also bled into the story of feeling like kind of white savior-y and like, you know, like, oh, now she lost her clan, like the only person that she loved died, like, spoiler, not so spoiler, that she felt at least, and she had to get help from the animals and stuff, and even the help from the animals was beautiful to see the dynamic in the book, and I appreciated, you know, the perspective, and I appreciated the way it was described and stuff, but I feel like it lacked a certain substance. Like it was written from a lens of the settlers being kind people, and even the way he was like talking about how, oh, this is like my land, this is the land I own and stuff, like the settler that she encounters, it was like he only got that land because he married a native woman, you know? So like it's like there's not enough questioning of that. Like the main character was confused too, like girl, me too, like I was confused when he was saying, oh, this is my land, it's the land I own. She's like, pardon? And he's like, I own. Did I stutter? And no, to paraphrase, but it was just like, she's like, the land belongs to like the trees, you know, the creatures, the birds and the bees, you know, like the land it's not a possession to own or boast about. It's the Mother Earth, you know, she breathes life and sustenance and shelter and safety into us all. And it's not, but again, that can directly reflect to the patriarchal lens of the colonial mindset that was encroached upon us, if that makes sense. So I don't want to get too too much into all that. But yeah, I feel like overall though, this book, I'd give it a solid 3 out of 5 stars. 3 out of 5 stars. I know it was the first of a duology, I believe, but it wasn't technically a duology because it's set like a year apart and like they have different like themes and stuff, but somewhat a duology. So this was the first of the duology. I do think I might check out the second book eventually, because I do appreciate the elements of how the main character was so dedicated to her grandmother and dedicated to preserving that culture and dedicated to the forest and all the beings that live there. And I appreciated that type of perspective, especially from the lens of like a book geared to more towards children. However, I feel like it wasn't the best representation of what it means to be in full like relationship, with the land. And I feel like though it was a nice entry point, if you will, especially for people who are not familiar with the Fey realm or familiar with the elemental realm, or the woods and the trees and like the relationship with the forest and how the forest is like a community of different beings and not just made up of trees. But so, and I appreciated the environmental tackling of environmental issues such as logging and stuff, and how showing also how dependent humans are on trees and different plants, but also how our language is somewhat simple but also beautiful in its own way. And yeah, it was overall I appreciated it for what it was. And I zoomed through this book, honestly. I started it like a couple days ago, and I just zoomed through it. I wanted to finish it. The prose and the short chapters, some of the chapters were like 2 pages and stuff, and I'm like, this is definitely for younger audiences, but not necessarily at the same time, because I feel like the story still can stand the test of time in terms of the message that is trying to be portrayed. So I appreciated that. But also the ending was kind of corny. The ending was like a kid's book kind of ending, like, ooh, yay, but like it's like at the same time it's like I wanted something to like simmer or like sit on my tongue and like linger, something to linger. And the ending was very like predictable, like 1 + 2 is 3, like red fish, blue fish, like the power of whatever. I'm not gonna spoil it, but I feel like yeah, sorry, I just got text. I feel like overall I enjoyed it, and I would recommend if you've been thinking of picking this book up. I know it's came out a couple of years ago, but this is a beautiful book, and it's a timely book, especially with the logging industry not getting any better. Deforestation is one of the #1 problems of climate change and crisis. So I feel like, yeah, if you're looking for a quick little read with a good message, I would recommend this book. But my overall rating would definitely be like a 3 out of 5. 3 out of 5. So yeah. If you guys have any other books or recommendations, if you like the video, leave a thumbs up, leave a comment. I'd like to read them. I know this is still like a building platform, but I appreciate all of the views and all of the support. So if you like what you see and want some more, be sure to stop by, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace.